Hello and welcome to Business News on TVC Breakfast. Well, for weeks now, Nigerians have spent hours at filling stations hustling to get fuel for their cars and generators. This time it started with the importation of what the government called adulterated fuel. Stakeholders within the fuel importation and distribution system had to stop the sale of dirty petrol, which was damaging fuel station pumps and vehicle engines. A large consignment of imported fuel was identified to contain dangerous levels of methanol, which is used to blend premium water spirit. Well, how can we stop the importation of dirty petrol? I have joining me in the studio the Chairman, Business and Corporate Affairs Committee of the Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, and he's also the Chairman, Goldmat International Limited, Francis Irobe. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning for her.
Of course, this is a situation that affects you and I. So we've seen that this time it started with the importation of dirty petrol into Nigeria. Let's start off with, before we look at how can we stop this, let's take a look at the communication that we've seen so far from the NNPC, the Petroleum Regulatory Authority, to us Nigerians. Do you think the communication so far has put Nigerians first, as the mop goes on?
Well, thank you for having me. In my opinion, the communication that has come out of the authorities, mainly the NNPC, has really not been very open. I believe just from the media, the information we have is that the fuel that was imported came into the country without analyzing for the methanol that was a contaminant in that product. That's not an excuse that should be given by a professional set of bodies like the NNPC. Because before you import any product, you must have a specification in mind. You must know exactly what you are going to import.
But this is not the first time we're having this situation, is
it?
it?
It's not the first time. We had it several years ago, and where we were able to get one of the local experts to have rectify this situation. But now, because generally we don't learn from history, it's repeating itself. If you want to import any material at all, whether it's petroleum products or actually any material, you must have the specification of the material and you must be able to communicate it to the seller. That's the starting point. If you don't get your specification right, then definitely you are not going to get the right product. So in this particular instance, the question to ask is, what was the specification that the importers gave to the supplier? And when the supplier finished making the product or putting it together for export to Nigeria, what was the compliance methods that were investigated? Because you have a set of standards that you must follow when you are importing or in fact buying any product.
Something very important to our economy.
Yeah, the standard must be very, very strict.
Yeah.
Whether you have international standards or your own local standards. But they must have been tested, and that is what you expect to get. So to me, this particular instance looks to me like a failure of procurement because standards appear not to have been followed, and there were no processes in place or to check whether the standards and specifications are being followed. It doesn't have to be only just methanol, because the first thing is to be sure that what you ask is what you get.
Okay, let's take a look at we have a situation at hand now. After that, the importation of the dirty fuel, some other things cropped up, which is the pricing that motorists had to get the fuel. For some persons, we had to see pump price as high as 190, 200, 250. Some persons claiming 400 naira for the pump price of 165 naira. And so, considering the regulatory authority and how they've been able to handle the pricing at different filling stations, do you see that this goes against the promise from the NNPC that they will be regulating and seeing that, of course, the marketers are selling at the pump price, the fixed pump price, which is 165 naira.
Well, it's almost about the same systemic failure that we witness in most of the activities in the economy. There's a department that is responsible for not only regulating the importation of this product, but also monitoring to ensure compliance with standards, also with the agreed pricing. Obviously, it's not the first time that we are experiencing this type of disruption in our economic system and in our petroleum product activities in particular. So by now, we expect that the Department of Petroleum Resources that is responsible for monitoring and ensuring compliance with standard and also with pricing, at least at the pump stations. This also involves the defunct PPPRA, the Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Authority, would determine the price, and then DPR is expected to be able to monitor the dispensing stations and ensure that they comply with the price that has been agreed. But now, everything has gone out of place. It's gone completely, out of place. People are selling, because obviously the economic forces will come into play.
Yeah. Well, the question I want to ask is, why is it that we have filling stations selling above the pump price? Is it because it's not available, or is it because the amount they're getting it at the fixed depot is already higher than the fixed pump price?
Well, I think the two factors are coming into play.
Okay.
There is obvious shortage, and also there's high demand, and people just want to be on the move. And the petrol sellers take advantage of the people, and therefore they can sell at whatever price they want. They know that people want the fuel by all means. So people are selling, and they know that there are no consequences. No consequences. So they can, play on the suffering of the people and then sell at whatever price they want. And there is nobody that's going to be held accountable. Because by now we should have examples of people that are being held accountable for selling above the normal prices. The depot prices are open and unknown. As it is now, you have the depot prices for a product like diesel, which is already deregulated. They can sell at whatever price they want. But when it comes to PMS, which is regulated and is subsidized, there has to be more effective monitoring of the process of buying, storage, and selling to the public, so that there will be compliance. But that is what I see as a failure of
as a systemic failure on the part, of course, of the government.
Yes.
I'm afraid we might have to leave the conversation here. Hopefully we get to talk about this and how we can avert the importation of Detafil. Chairman Goldmat International Limited, and you're also the Chairman Business and Corporate Affairs Committee of the Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, Francis Irobe. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.